But there was something about the tone of this show that just let us be kind of two big babies running around in little gray suits and screaming at each other.
She-Hulk was always going to be a comedy. Not just because my background is in writing for TV comedy, but if you know her from the comics, she's always been very fun. Like the most iconic run, the John Byrne run, I mean, was so irreverent and like fun and self-aware and meta, you know, that was where she broke the fourth wall. So to me, that is like the essential She-Hulk. And she just naturally lends herself well to comedy.
So if you want to go back to life as a lawyer, I respect that.
Thanks. He doesn't mean that.
For me, like my favorite type of humor is taking these like huge, big concepts, you know, these like high concept things, extraordinary things such as superheroes and saving the universe and, you know, being an Avenger, and really distilling that down to a grounded real world scenario where rather than focusing on the spectacle of these big action things that happen in the movies, we're focusing on a slice of life, you know, just like normal stuff. Like to me, the juxtaposition of those two things is like comedy gold.
I've been in a lot of slice of life comedies, and then in this, all of a sudden we get to incorporate people who have magical powers and go through portals, and there's weird baby demons and stuff like that. So you end up having like even more that you can mine from comedically because of the ridiculousness of the magic that's in Marvel.
All of the actors who came from the existing MCU world had a little bit of an adjustment period where they realized that we were really the same characters in a new genre, because it is the first time Marvel's done a half-hour legal comedy. And the most common question I got was like, am I going too far? And my answer was always like, no, you can go further. You can play. This really is a straight comedy in a lot of ways.
And this is just another iteration, and we get to get into his like private life and just the goofy things like how does he not hit his head through doorways, and how does his furniture keep from collapsing every time he sits on something, or what is he like when he's wasted, and you know, all those kinds of things that we never got to explore before.
You know, I think it is fun for people who are used to doing one thing to then be able to kind of take a break from like the very dramatic and, you know, sometimes dark, to then play in the tone of our show because the universe isn't at stake. So you actually get to have the time and the space to let this character breathe and kind of show like what happens on their day off when they're not saving the world.
Who's your best friend?
Nikki.
Spandex. Spandex is your best friend.
The real secret to comedy is allowing actors to play and allowing improvisation and looseness. And, you know, Mark and Tatiana had this incredible instant chemistry with each other. And a lot of what you see in that first episode is actually informed by their dynamic. And there are definitely moments that weren't on the page.
The great thing about Marvel is just how much work's already been done on their personal lives, on these other characters, on their relationships with these other characters through all the years of the comics. So it just gives you this kind of huge opportunity to explore so many different avenues. And this is just another one, and like a personal family relationship that's really close. It's surprising kind of how well they sort of fall into each other and like how familiar it feels.
It was amazing. I mean, he was so much fun to play with. Like he really is like a big kid in the way that he approaches, maybe not every time he plays the Hulk, I'm sure he is, but there was something about the tone of this show that just let us be kind of two big babies running around in little gray suits and screaming at each other. Yeah, and he's very in the moment. He's very much about like connecting and being present, and so he's like my ideal actor to work with.
Basically, I was right and Bruce was wrong, and I never have to be a Hulk. Okay, so now I'm gonna go win this case. Lawyer show.